Europe might have a fighter problem. For decades, European air forces leaned heavily on American capability to fill the gaps. American intelligence, American logistics, American missiles, and increasingly, the American F-35 sitting at the center of multiple NATO air forces. Every so often, political tension between Washington and European capitals flares up, and the same uncomfortable question resurfaces among defense planners. What happens if Europe stays this dependent on foreign military technology indefinitely? That question is a big part of what's driving one of the more ambitious defense projects in development right now, the Helsing CA-1 Europa. It's being built not as a drone in the conventional sense, but as a genuinely different approach to how air warfare gets fought. On the surface, the CA-1 Europa reads like a futuristic fighter jet. Angular surfaces, an internal weapons bay, jet propulsion, advanced sensors. The difference from an F-35 is immediate. There's no pilot. The CA-1 is being built as a fully autonomous, uncrewed combat aircraft, running on Helsing Centaur AI autonomy system. It sits in a category the industry started calling collaborative combat aircraft, or CCA, and that label matters because the CA-1 isn't trying to replace every fighter jet in European air forces. It's trying to change the underlying economics of how air power gets generated in the first place. Modern combat aircraft have gotten absurdly expensive. An F-35 runs tens of millions of dollars per unit before you even factor in training, sustainment, infrastructure, and decades of maintenance costs. The price tag is exactly why air forces end up with limited fleets. You simply can't buy your way to large numbers. Helsing's pitch is being built around what they call intelligent mass, producing autonomous aircraft in much larger numbers than traditional fighters while keeping real combat capability. The bet is that in future conflicts, having enough aircraft might matter nearly as much as having the best aircraft. The CA-1 is designed to live inside that bet. The aircraft itself sits in a 3 to 5 ton class, notably smaller than an F-35, but still big enough to carry real sensors, electronic warfare gear, and weapons internally. Helsing has positioned it for deep precision strikes, air combat support, electronic warfare, swarm operations, reconnaissance, and operating alongside crewed fighters. The underlying logic is simple. Instead of sending a human pilot into heavily defended airspace, first, send dozens of autonomous aircraft in ahead. If some get shot down, the mission keeps going. Nobody's family gets a knock on the door. That's a fundamentally different risk calculation than putting a scarce, expensively trained pilot in harm's way. Arguably the most important piece of this whole program isn't the airframe at all. It's the software running underneath it. Centaur AI sits at the core of the CA-1, the same autonomy stack Helsing already demonstrated on fighter aircraft in partnership with SAL. It's designed to handle complex air combat tasks and, in certain scenarios, react faster than a human pilot could in contested environments. 2 more systems round it out. Sierra handles electronic warfare, and Symphony coordinates distributed assets across a mission. Put together, the idea is that the large number of autonomous aircraft operate as a coordinated network rather than as isolated platforms, each fighting their own fight. Here's what makes the CA-1 particularly interesting from a European policy standpoint. Unlike the F-35, it's been developed almost entirely inside a European industry. European software, European manufacturing, European supply chains, European sensors, and autonomy systems. Helsing markets it directly as sovereign capability, something built specifically to strengthen European strategic autonomy and cut reliance on outside suppliers. For governments increasingly nervous about long-term dependence on technology they don't control, that's a genuinely compelling pitch, independent of how the aircraft performs. The program is also growing. In 2026, Helsing introduces CA-1EA, an electronic attack variant built specifically to jam enemy radar, disrupt air defense networks, and clear safe corridors for other aircraft operating behind it. So one version is built to strike targets, the other is built to blind enemy sensors. Together they form a modular family sharing the same airframe, logistics chains, and software architecture, which is its own kind of efficiency play. Now for the reality check. Despite the genuine excitement around the program, the CA-1 Europa hasn't entered service. First flight is currently planned for 2027, and initial operational capability is still years out. A lot of what's being promised remains completely untested in actual combat. Nobody knows how these systems will hold up against serious Russian or Chinese electronic warfare. Nobody knows how well autonomous swarms actually survive in contested airspace once someone's shooting back. And nobody's fully worked out how military commanders will integrate AI-driven aircraft into operations that still rely heavily on human judgment. It's also worth being direct about what the CA-1 isn't. It's not an F-35 replacement, not today and probably not for a while. The F-35 is a proven stealth multi-role fighter with a human pilot, mature sensor fusion, deep combat networking, and years of real-world testing behind it. The CA-1 occupies a different lane entirely. Anyone expecting the CA-1 to simply swap in for an F-35 fleet is going to be disappointed. They're built to solve different problems. Even with those caveats, it's hard to wave away the strategic weight of what Helsing is attempting to do. The CA-1 Europa is really a bet on what European air power looks like in the age of AI. Whether the CA-1 Europa actually delivers on any of this is genuinely unclear. Plenty of ambitious defense programs arrive late, blow through budgets, or never hit their original promises. But one trend looks settled at this point. Air combat is moving toward autonomy, and Europe has made it clear it doesn't want to be watching the shifts as it happens. If you like content like this, make sure you subscribe to Reach Defense Media for more.